guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to talk about some eyeshadow palettes because you guys know I love eyeshadow palettes. You guys love eyeshadow palettes. I mean, this is a makeup channel after all, so if you guys are nosy, just keep watching. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name is KARENHARRIS. I like to film tan girl friendly makeup videos here on YouTube. I post about 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. So if you like this type of video, highly recommend subscribing, turning on that bell so you're notified every time I post. And without further blabbering, let's get into it. Before I forget, I just need to say if you're wondering about this makeup look, I did film it. It might have been posted quite some time ago because I'm not quite sure when this video is going up, but I will link it in my description box along with all the makeup I have on. So yeah, check that out if you guys are curious. It is some Wet n Wild, so it's pretty cool, but I just wanted to mention that in case you guys were nosy. But today's video was inspired by my friend Heather. I think she did this video like probably a year ago, and I just thought it was so fun because when I was doing my 2022 eyeshadow palette rankings, I was like, oh, some of these palettes are like kind of a neutral palette with a twist, and that's the kind of neutral palette like I'm really into. Of course, I do dabble in the neutral pool as well as the colorful pool all of the time. Today I have on a pretty neutral look, so you know, it just kind of depends on what's floating my boat that day. But I thought that talking about some palettes that were not so neutral or like neutrals with a twist would be kind of fun. I have all of them from 2022 pretty much because, like I said, I was gathering up all my palettes for my 2022 rankings. So I just thought this would be a fun little eyeshadow palette video for you guys, especially if you own some of these palettes or if these were some that you were trying to decide on if you wanted to buy them or not. This could be fun. So yeah, I feel like I hope I explained things well for you guys, and I will try and link all the palettes down below, and if I have any affiliate codes or affiliate links, I will share those for you guys as well. Okay, that's all for that. Now let's get into the palettes because that's what we're all here for. So the first one we have to talk about is this beauty from Beaute, and they actually sent me this one. Sometimes I get PR from them, sometimes I don't, but this is such a cute palette, and Beaute has such good quality when it comes to their eyeshadows. So I just think this is such a fun, like half purple, half grungy greens palette. I mean, I consider these like neutrals for me. I know for some people this is like a lot going on, but I just thought it was such a pretty palette. And it actually reminds me a lot of the Unearthly Weirdos palette. Now the Weirdos does have some like multi-chromes in it, so you're not going to get that with this palette. But that was a limited edition palette, so if you missed out on that and you kind of like that color story, I would say check this one out because I had so much fun playing with this one from Beaute. Okay, the next one is also, actually most of these are indie palettes, maybe even all of them. I will let you know, but this one is from the indie brand Fantasy Cosmetica, and I just thought the Bard palette had such a fun twist of neutrals and some beautiful blue shades. We've got this pop of like yellow over here with that shade called Performance. We've got this beautiful grungy green called Inspiration, but these right here are more like neutrally leaning, but you can also like mix and match them really nicely together. So I wanted to give this 9-pan color story a little shout out for you guys. This was one of my favorite palettes of 2022, and I just think it's such a great neutral palette with a twist because it has one of my other favorite eyeshadow colors to wear, which is green. So we've got kind of a more neutral bottom 2 rows, and then this fun pop of greens and these beautiful multi-chromes. You guys know Odin's Eye makes some really pretty metallics, so I definitely wanted to mention this one. I believe this is limited edition and you can no longer get this palette, but if you have this palette, if you haven't tried it yet, highly recommend trying to create some neutral looks and popping on some of these more colorful greens and letting me know how it turns out, because I think that would be a very fun look. Okay, Nomad in my eyes, makes a really fun, colorful palette. I feel like, especially in 2022, they did a lot of fun rainbow type palettes, but the one that was very high up in my rankings, which I think would surprise you guys as much as me, was their palette that is called the Hudson Valley palette. So I feel like this is definitely one of those palettes that comes off as very neutral. Some might even say boring, but oh my gosh, I was so blown away by this palette. It is so beautiful. I love the grungy tones as well as the warm tones. As you can see, it's definitely like inspired by like the fall leaves, and I feel like 2022 we had a lot of really fun Halloween drops, but this was definitely one that's more geared for the fall season, and I think it's beautiful. I think that you could also obviously wear this in the summertime because it has those beautiful sunset shades, and yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite neutral palettes with a twist. Okay, this is like a 9-pan version of the palette I just showed you, but the Daily Grind from Unearthly is so different from what they usually do. This is another brand that does a lot of very like out-of-the-box color stories, and I feel like if you're looking for something smaller with a cohesive kind of color story, this might be the one for you from Unearthly. Like if you're looking to try more neutrally shades, you don't want to try their like grungy palettes, you might want to start here. This is one of their palettes that also has a small pan size, so it is a little bit more affordable as well. So I think this is so cute. I've used this in my Shop My Stash. Let me know what you guys think about this palette. Have you tried it? Do you own it? Are you tempted by it? Or do you think it's kind of a snooze fest? I think it's super duper cute. Okay, this one is definitely a twist more than a neutral palette, but we've got a ton of these like fall-y palettes. This is from Lethal Cosmetics, and this is their Metamorphosis, I believe, palette. This came out last year as well, and I feel like, again, Lethal does some really fun, colorful palettes. So this is one of their more neutrally palettes, but again, they have some beautiful metallic shades, this really pretty grungy green shade, and then some fun metallics to go along with it. So if you've been wondering about this one, I think it's a really fun kind of like neutral, kind of a neutral palette with a twist, really. Okay, if you're wanting something safe from Unearthly and you want the bigger pans, this is a really good option for you. This is Leather and Lace from Unearthly Cosmetics, and this is perfect for somebody that wants some neutral shades to pair with the all shimmer palettes that we've seen people come out with, or if you just want something easy, this is a great travel palette. You can also use some of these as face products if you want like a bronzer, but I would just go down the rows with each of these and it creates a really easy, fun look. Okay, I think this might be the only mainstream palette, or one of the only mainstream palettes in this video, but I had to talk about my favorite midi size palette from Natasha Denona. This is her midi My Dream palette, and I've said time and time again, if I was to start my midi collection from scratch, I would start with this one because it has some really pretty deepening up shades. It has her multi-chrome in here. This is the first midi palette with a multi-chrome. It's got her cream powder formula. It's got a good range of lighter shimmers as well as some darker mattes. It does need like one light matte shade if people like want to use it as an inner corner or a brow bone shade. That's not usually something I need in a palette, so I don't really care that it's missing, but if I had to give it like one critique, it would be that. But overall, this is a spectacular palette from Natasha Denona. Okay, this is the only palette that launched this year, but I saw it laying in my pile of palettes and I thought I would mention it in case you guys want something very neutral with a twist. This is the Anna Nook palette, I think, or how do you say her name? Yeah, Nook, I believe. And this is with Sigma Beauty. They actually sent me this palette, and I mean, I feel like Sigma always makes phenomenal neutral palettes. I didn't love the colorful row when I tried it. I need to try this palette out some more, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But again, I tried to avoid like neutral palettes with like a row of color in this video, but since this is a newer palette, I figured I'd just throw it in here. But yeah, definitely a more neutral palette with a pop of blue purple, but I think some of you might be really into this. My earrings, I feel like, look like this palette. It's kind of funny. I just kind of noticed that. But anyway, Sigma makes really pretty palettes, and I just wanted to throw this one in here. Okay, this palette, okay, both of these palettes, they're from the same brand. I mean, come on, Blend Bunny. This might be one of my favorite palettes from them. It's so beautiful. There are some neutral shades right here, but there's all these like fun metallic shadows. This one called Shine is so pretty. It's like an iridescent green shadow, so it pairs really well with the shadows in this row, or you can mix and match. I just really love how Blend Bunny puts her color stories together. I haven't found one that I have been disappointed in yet, so if you're looking for something neutral with a twist, look no further than the All Done Up palette. And if this isn't neutral enough for you, or you think it's like too dark or too grungy, definitely take a look at the Dollhouse palette. This kind of looks, I don't want to say boring, but compared to her other colorful palettes, this does look boring, but this palette packs a punch. Oh my goodness, I could make looks with this palette all day because there's so many options. You could do something a little bit more mauve, you could do something warm tone, you could do something cool tone, you can do something iridescent, you can do something smoky. This is a world, a host of possibilities, and I just think this is such a fun neutral palette with a twist. Okay, this one is definitely more shimmer heavy, but I thought this was a fun take on a very glam neutral palette with a twist. So we have to talk about the Adept Minka palette. Now, Adept typically makes really pretty, colorful, all shimmer, colorful, like multi-chrome, you know, see it from space kind of palettes. So if you've been kind of on the fence about trying them, and you prefer more neutral leaning shades, I would recommend the Minka palette. There are two mattes in this palette, but it's the metallics for me that really make this palette. So highly recommend checking this out. I did do eye swatches of the shimmers, so you might want to check out my video in case you guys are interested, but super duper pretty palette. Let me just swatch two of the shades for you. Like, this is like see it from space kind of metallics. So yeah, super duper pretty. Of course, they have a lot of shift to it. They look wet on the eyes, which is such a plus point. So yeah, highly recommend checking these out if you haven't checked out the Adept Minka palette. And I do have another palette from Adept in this video as well. We've got a lot of repeat offenders from the same brands, but I feel like you can tell what brands are my favorite indie brands when I do videos like this because I pull like multiple palettes from the same brand. Hey guys, so it's a new day and I'm filming the rest of this video because of course I was filming my neutral palettes with a twist video and it was during my daughter's nap time and she woke up, so I had to go. I couldn't finish the video. So you're seeing me on a different day. I did not film this look, but I did film a look with the palette I have on my eyes, so that'll be linked down below. Maybe, maybe not, who knows? Maybe you guys don't even care. So anyway, let's keep this video going. I just wanted to explain the different makeup because it is a completely different day, but I wanted to show you guys another one of my favorite neutral palettes with a twist, and that is the Unearthly palette. So this one you can't buy anymore because this was limited edition, and mine is honestly such a mess. Oh my gosh. It's so messy. But I will say this palette definitely deserves more love from me, but it's so gorgeous. The metallics in this palette are out of control. Bananas crazy. I mean, this formula is just unreal. So buttery, so opaque and sparkly and beautiful. And the mattes are really nice too, but I definitely gravitate towards the shimmer side. So if you guys have this, you are some of the elite few out there because I feel like it sold out way too quickly. Next is a less sparkly palette, but a beautiful one nonetheless. This is the Ambiance palette from Ace Beaute. This palette definitely caught me off guard. I didn't buy this right away because I was kind of iffy with Ace Beaute. Like, some of their palettes I love, some of their palettes are just okay. Some of their palettes are like in my top 5 palettes of 2022. And this one is just a great, like, neutral-ish palette, but it also has some great pops of color. The metallics are really nice. I really like the packaging. I'm just so excited to see what Ace Beaute has in store for us in 2023. Okay, I have 2 palettes left. So the one that really inspires me is this Nearly Neutral palette. I feel like that should be the title of this video, is like Nearly Neutral palettes, or like neutral palettes with a twist. Again, this one is definitely more neutral heavy, but it has such beautiful sparkly shadows, and it's got that pop of like grungy green, which I think is so huge right now. So yeah, this is a Australian indie brand. If you guys haven't heard me talk about them, they also have some other more colorful palettes that you're probably familiar with, but this is their like beautiful neutral palette. I think this would be a gorgeous like wedding day bridal makeup kind of vibe too, because it has some really grungy brown shades and some really pretty light shimmers. So yeah, a really stunning palette, and I wish I got more use out of it because it's so pretty. And then last but certainly not least, I don't know if this is in stock anymore or right now, but I think Adept will bring this back at some point. It's a very pretty, like one of the first neutral palettes really I've seen Adept do. But again, it's a neutral palette with the twist, because the mattes are neutral, but these shimmer shades are all kind of like transforming multi-chrome shades. So when I first got this and I saw the mattes, I was a little bit let down. I was feeling a little bit deflated because I'm like, oh my god, those mattes are so not my vibe. But these shades, the metallic row, really transforms it, twists it, turns it in such a unique and fun way. So if you guys are able to get your hands on this and you like neutrals, I think this is going to be the Adept palette for you, because I feel like they've skewed towards the colorful side for so long. So it was really fun to see their take on a more neutral palette. So that is it for this video. I still don't know what I'm going to call it. I think I might end up with like neutral palettes with a twist. I don't know, but I just felt like I had so many of these palettes that were not really neutral, but they weren't really colorful. So I wanted to document this video in case you guys are the type of people that also, you know, like to like dip your toe in like the dark side every once in a while and do something fun and interesting. Not that neutral looks aren't fun and interesting, but I don't know, I just think these palettes are kind of edgy in their own way, because they're not just browns and mauves and they have some fun twist to them. So let me know if you have a favorite nearly neutral palette or a neutral palette with a twist that I forgot to mention in this video. Like I said, most of the palettes in today's video are from 2022. I think the Adept one is the only one that I included from this year, because I had all my palettes pulled from my eyeshadow palette ranking, so I wanted to create this video before I put these palettes back. So yeah, that is it for this one. I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye!